So thank you very much, Bashir. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk this morning. My name's Paul Strong. What I thought we'd do is really talk about certainly the things that we at VMware, but me personally, also are seeing outside what's happening. I think we're in what I personally think of as quite possibly the most exciting time in my entire career in terms of IT. That a set of things are happening both outside the enterprise and inside that are challenging preconceptions and changing the way we can do things, not just in terms of how we deliver and consume IT, how we deliver it to people, but in terms of opportunities for fundamental disruptions in terms of how we deliver business value. That IT isn't just this thing that supports existing business models and business processes, but it's a fundamental enabler for business transformation and change and disruption. And things like the status quo between the business and IT, where the business has certain expectations that we've had for 30 years, that IT is slow, time-consuming, and risk-laden, have been kind of swept aside. All their consumers are realizing, I can get this stuff with my credit card more or less instantly. Why can't you do it for me? So we can think of it perhaps in two terms. The first is a new platform, and then perhaps thinking about what does this new platform enable in terms of business disruption. 20 minutes is a very small period of time, so I shall try and get as much in as humanly possible without speaking as if I'm a sort of Xerox salesman on amphetamines or something. As I said, I think we're in a time of enormous change. I think it's extremely exciting. There's the whole mobility thing going on in terms of the ability to get access to applications and services anytime, any place through sets of interesting devices. There's a social interaction model. If we look at people coming into the workforce today, not just the people we think of as consumers outside, but the people coming into the workforce have a completely different set of expectations in terms of technology and how they interact with each other that is fundamentally different and is both a potential challenge and an opportunity for us. There's the whole Internet of Things going on. Our ability to connect with each other, with our environment, with the sets of things that we manage out there is fundamentally shifting. And we pull all that stuff together, this intimacy that we get through the Internet of Things and social mobile devices and so forth, in this thing that we call big data. And we're able to execute these things and run these applications in this thing that we think of as cloud. And all of these, in some sense, are kind of a perfect storm. There's all this set of things that have been evolving over a period of time that have come together and kind of reinforce each other to deliver something that is fundamentally different. What we see is the enterprise is turning into, it's being consumerized in a number of ways, right? There's devices. You could say that the prevalent adoption of x86 in the data center is a reflection of consumerization. The per cycle cost is so darn low on these machines because they were on everyone's desktops at home and at work that they found their way into the data center. We see smartphones going everywhere, and we see tablets and iPads everywhere. For me personally, the iPad, by the way, isn't a more convenient way of getting at email. For me, it's multi-touch, which gives us a new way of interacting with software systems. In my spare time, I make music, or I mix music, and instead of having to spend several $1,000s for a digital mixing desk to put with my software that would improve my productivity, I buy a $10 iPad application, and it's magically turned into an 8-channel digital mixer. If you can imagine it with a 3D camera on it, which some of them do have, and I'm an engineer, structural engineer, after a big storm, I can take photographs of cracks in bridges, and I get structural information, quantitative as well as qualitative information, along with geospatial coordinate stuff, et cetera, right? This is going to fundamentally change the way we interact with systems. The other thing that we see shifting here is expectation of what happens inside the enterprise. That cloud, which I'll talk about in a little bit more depth in a moment, although we've probably all heard way too much about cloud already, in some sense is all about a consumer experience. It's about instant gratification. I get the services I want when I want, I pay for what I use, and then I throw them away when I'm done, right? Well, the last bit is a little bit harder than the others. But this is a different way of interacting with enterprise software and acquiring, infrastructure or platforms. We've never really had this before. In the past, people bought hardware, software, they installed one on the other, or they paid someone else to do it with some large upfront contract.